battling the relentlessly negative doom and gloom news media. It's the Nick Stenger Show, coming to you live from the Stenger Family Office headquarters. It's your host, Nick Stenger.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nick Stenger Show. My name's Nick Stenger. We are the Stenger Family Office. For the past 44 years, Stenger Family has made it our mission to deliver both clarity and confidence to help secure your financial future. Aren't you glad you stayed on your plan? Episode 188, that's why you don't panic. And the stock market here, S&P 500, is almost back again to 6,000 points. The record all-time high was 6,150. And if you had sold, you missed out on one of the best and fastest recoveries we've had since COVID. So aren't you glad you're still on your plan? That's what we try to do on the show every week. We just try to give you the data, math, statistics, the reasons why you can't get off your plan. Why is it that the market recovers all of its losses, even in the face of difficulty in the economy? Why is it that the stock market rallies before the economic recovery begins? Because stocks are a forward-looking indicator of what's to come. So if you're buying good companies, and this is what I've told you on the show almost every week, if you're buying good companies and you have a good idea that the company's going to make it through the crisis, whatever you think that crisis could be, whether it's something known like COVID, whether it's something that could happen in the future, as long as you're buying strong, solid companies, you're diversified across a basket of securities, you're going to make it through. Now, the price you pay for those great companies also matters. You can't overpay. You don't want to go out and pay 3, 4, 500 times for a stock if you don't have to. But there's plenty of companies out there today trading at 20 times earnings, trading at 15 times earnings. There's a lot of healthcare names trading at 10 times earnings and paying you 4 or 5% dividends. So let not your heart be troubled. Do not panic. Do not worry. There's going to be plenty of sector rotation coming down the pipeline here. You've seen it this year. Mag 7 has started to finally come back a little bit, but to lead the year, we had this value rotation through some energy companies. We had it through utilities. We've had it even from surprising places like Constellation Energy, which just signed a 20-year deal with Meta to provide power for AI data centers. So this is what I told you on the show last week or 2 episodes ago, where I said, you don't know what the future holds. You don't know exactly what kind of technology is coming. And so why should you panic? In fact, there's a great chapter in Ecclesiastes. If you have ever read Ecclesiastes, I believe it's chapter 13, that says you don't know what the future holds, so therefore rejoice. And so that's what we've told you on the show every single week. That's the heart of the abundance mindset, is you don't know what the future holds, and you should be excited about that because there is so much exciting technology coming down the pipeline. Now, some of it's going to be a bunch of nonsense. Some of it's not going to work. Some of it's going to be overtraded and overvalued. But a lot of it, we just have no idea what the future is going to hold 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And despite all the doom and gloom, despite all the bad stories that you're going to see the rest of 2025, I told you on the show, just brace yourself. You're going to see some horrible doom and gloom stories this year, next year, the year after, for the next 10 years. Don't panic, because the heart of entrepreneurship is people trying to make things better. That's why the stock market goes up over time. And so that's why you got to pay attention to the entrepreneurs you have in your portfolio. You got to pay attention to their management teams. You got to understand what you got. So why are the top entrepreneurs still the founders of their company? Why are they still running their companies in many cases? Because that's the heart of entrepreneurship. You've seen this at Tesla now. You've seen Elon Musk just take that company to all-time record highs. You saw it with Jeff Bezos at Amazon. You saw it with Bill Gates at Microsoft. You've seen it at all these different places. And the reality is if you understand what you own, if you understand that stocks are a claim on real assets, you're not going to panic. You're not going to get off your plan. In fact, you're going to use these corrections and buying opportunities to get more exposure to equities on your goals-based plan. Now, some of you shouldn't be buying more equities when the stocks go down. Some of you should just be staying put because that's what your plan calls for. But if you have a longer time frame, if you have a 5, 10, 15-year time frame before retirement, literally every single correction ever has been a buying opportunity. Think about that. Let that sink in. So anytime the stock market's gone down 5%, buying opportunity. Anytime it's gone down 10%, buying opportunity. Anytime it's gone down 20%, buying opportunity. And so the weird thing that happens to investors psychologically in the markets is stocks go on sale. They go down to 20%. They go down 30%. They go down 50%, like United Healthcare is down right now. and then they want nothing to do with it. And instead, they sell the stock that's down 50% that could be a buying opportunity. And then they go purchase a stock like Palantir. I'm not saying it's a bad company. I'm not saying it's a bad stock to buy, but it is trading 600-700 times earnings. Okay. And then they go buy Palantir at record all time highs after it's gone up 300-400%. So just understand the psychology behind the markets, because investors, this idea that all investors are rational is absolutely insane. It's not true. You've never once seen investors be rational. During 08 and 09, when it was a tremendous buying opportunity, stocks were off 60% from their all-time highs. A lot of people just sat in cash and bonds and gold, and they never thought that stocks would recover from their losses. And so why is it that you need a financial advisor keeping you on a long-term goals-based plan to help remind you that this is going to pass, that the worst of the corrections are going to be in the rearview mirror before you can even remember it? And by the way, if I asked you next year at this time, hey, do you remember what you were worried about in 2025 and why you wanted to get off your plan? You're not even going to remember. You're barely going to remember the reason why. And so if I asked you 2 years ago why you wanted to panic, you probably don't remember. And I can tell you exactly what happened. We've had tons of doom and gloom. We've had the Fed rate hiking cycle. We had COVID. We had the taper tantrum. We had Grexit and Brexit in 08 and 09 and 2001 and 1987 with Black Monday, and all the doom and gloom crises that have happened along the way, where the media wants to just tell you this time it's different. Hey, tune into our show, watch our person on TV, and we're going to tell you why the world's coming to an end. They're selling fear. And then you've got the gold and silver salesman, and maybe gold does have a place in your bunker at some point in an apocalypse event, but I would say for the most part, the gold and silver people are selling just a scare product. Okay, the water filtration systems and the meals ready to eat and the bunkers and all the different doom and gloom preppers out there, which I sympathize. I understand why they do it, but in reality, things get better over time, not worse. And I know that's hard to believe, but the reality is things have gotten better. People are living longer than ever. Medical technology is better than ever. And I believe it's going to get better and better and better as time progresses. So, of course, we have our challenges. Of course, the deficit is high. Of course, the U.S. has a big amount of debt to pay off. I understand inflation. I understand all the doom and gloom reasons that are going on. But again, you don't know what the future holds. So I just take you back to the book of Ecclesiastes, and I remind you that because you don't know what the future holds, you should be excited, because there are good things coming. People are going to go to work. Entrepreneurs are going to go to work every single day to work the problem and make things better. We're going to reduce inflation. We're going to get energy costs down. We're going to get food costs down. You just got to give it some time and be patient. And I'm telling you, on the horizon, I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. I don't know that I can't give you a date. I can't tell you a time, but at some point, the S&P is going to hit 7,000 points. Now, I got a text from a gentleman who sold out last year. We're not going to name any names, of course, but we got him into the S&P at 5,500. I told him, hey, just be aware of the fact the S&P could go down. Sometimes the market does go down. I know, shocker, right? And don't panic. Just stay on your plan. We're going to get you in at 5,500, and I think over time it's going to work out for you. Well, at 5,300, just a very small correction, he insisted he had to get out. He panicked out of the market at a point where I told him just stay in and add more if you can. Well, he got out. And then the market rallied to 61.50. That was a pretty good jump. I never got a text from him then. I never got a text saying, hey, Nick, you were right. I was wrong. And then the S&P corrected, and we ended up at 4,900 points in this most recent correction in 2025. I get a text from him at 49.50, and he says, Nick, I was right. You were wrong, and this is why I told you, you shouldn't have put me in at 5,500 on the S&P, to which I said, okay, fine. Don't think you really know what you're talking about. I think I'll be right in the end, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree on this one. Sure enough, S&P now has rallied right back to 6,000 points. I'm still waiting for my text. I'm still waiting for my email saying, hey, Nick, you were right. And turns out the market does go up over time, because if he would have stayed in, he got in at 5,500. If he would have stayed in till now at 6,000, With the dividend, he'd be up over 10%. So yeah, would we have loved to get the S&P at 5,300 or 5,100 or 4,900? Sure, but you will drive yourself crazy trying to time the market out over the long run. You just can't do it. You won't be successful trying to time it. So I know it's not the fun answer. It's not the answer that is going to sell a bunch of books and trading strategies and all this other stuff. But the answer for investors is be patient on a plan. And by the way, if you get a 10% equity return, what are you complaining about? That's pretty darn good. Long-term equity return for 200 years on the S&P, Dr. Jeremy Siegel, 10% a year. So what are you complaining about? What's wrong with 10%? It fits in your plan. And so that's why I go back to that goals-based plan. Don't be on a risk-based plan. Don't come in here and say, hey, Nick, I'm overly conservative and I'm a conservative plus. We don't want to hear about that to start. Eventually we want to hear about it, but that's not going to be our starting point. Our starting point in a Stenger Family Office meeting is going to be, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Because then we're going to take the portfolio and craft it, put a custom portfolio together according to what you're trying to accomplish. If you tell me, Nick, I'm going to need $1 million out of my portfolio 18 months from today, I'm obviously not going to tell you to risk that money and put it all in the stock market. That makes zero sense. But if you tell me, Nick, I'm on a goals-based long-term plan, I got 30 years that I'm hoping that I can live. I retired at 60. I'm hoping just in case I live till 90, I got to make sure my money doesn't that I don't outlive my money. And so I'm going to say your biggest risk is not stock market volatility, but rather inflation. And so if we're going to cover 30 years of inflation in the portfolio, sorry to break it to you, but you're going to have to be in equities. Equities are the place you beat inflation. Why is it that equities compound to the tune of 10% a year while inflation compounds at 3 to 3.5%? What's the premium there? You have to be able to stomach the ups and downs. You have to be able to deal with the fact that once in a while, United Healthcare trades way more than it's worth at 650 or 600, and then it trades way lower than it's worth at 250 or 260, and once in a while, it's going to sell off. By the way, another company that this has happened to is NVIDIA. NVIDIA has sold off, I think it's been 3 or 4 times now, over 50%. And so if you had panicked out of NVIDIA in each one of those cases, you would have missed the massive run up to the record all-time high, which today is close to $143, $144 a share. That's why you just can't panic. You have to stay on your plan. Don't just put everything in one stock, but be on a diversified goals-based plan, and you're going to make it out the other side alive. Let me remind you before we go of one of our big events coming up right around the corner now. October 16th and 17th, Investor Day. We're going to be doing it here in the Chicago suburbs, just 25 to 30 minutes outside of the city of Chicago in Oak Brook, Illinois, at Gibson's Steakhouse. We've got a 2-day conference. If you come in from out of town, we've got a room block at a hotel right there, right next to the venue, so you don't even have to go anywhere. Everything's right in one spot for you. On Thursday night, we do a dinner reception. And then Friday, we've got 3 incredible guest speakers. We've got a former FBI special agent, Jeff Lanza, who actually joined us on our podcast, Bullish. You can go watch that episode if you're interested. And come and hear Jeff talk about cybersecurity, how to stay safe online with everything going on. And then we're going to have Andrew Opdyke, who's on the screen there on the left, who you have seen before if you come to Investor Day. Absolutely tremendous. If you think that the Nick Stenger Show is high energy or Bullish is high energy, come watch Andrew Opdyke. Guy is absolutely incredible. You got to see him. He's phenomenal. He's been spot on. And then we've got Jeremy Schwartz, who is the global head of research at Wisdom Tree, and that's the firm that Dr. Siegel advises. And by the way, Jeremy Schwartz was Dr. Siegel's star student at Wharton. You got to come see it. You're going to absolutely love Investor Day. And it's this year, October 16th and 17th, 2025. Katie the Greek told me today that it's already got 22 or 23 people signed up, and we haven't even sent out the invite. So I keep telling you every single episode on the show, you got to pre-register. Call Katie. That's why you got to subscribe to the show. That's why you got to watch it. Share it with your friends and family, because if you want to be able to come to these events, they get full almost immediately. We only have 150 spots. We already have 22, 23 people signed up. So by the time this invite goes out in the next week, 2 weeks or so, it will be full. Send an email to Katie, katie.poulos, Poulos, at StengerFamilyOffice.com, or call 630-912-8295 and reach out to get on that invite. You'll see it in the mail. You'll see it as an email very soon. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for being here. Episode 188. We'll see you next time for episode 189.